How are you lovely denizens doing today? My name is John. Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. In this series, I take your questions about the zombie storyline and I answer them. Whether it be a big, a small, or a simple question, I'm more than happy to answer it. So go ahead, leave your questions down below. Maybe I'll see it and maybe I'll answer it. You may even be in the next episode. If you want, there are two ways to submit your questions. Count them two, ladies and gentlemen. The first one is to tweet me at JohnnyJ25. I'm always going through my Twitter. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with me. Another thing you can do is to leave them down in the comments below. I go through all of the comments, and I guarantee your question will get seen. Now, if you're watching this video not long after it came out, it means that I'm currently in Germany. So this episode was pre-recorded, and normally what I do is I take your questions and I use them in the next episode. However, because I re-recorded several episodes, I will be using these questions once I return to the States. I'll be going through and picking out some of the best ones and using them in upcoming episodes. So please do leave them down below. You may see yourself in future episodes, and be sure to subscribe and stick around so that you possibly catch yourself in one of the later episodes. Without further ado though, let's begin. We're gonna kick this episode off with a question from AFK Gaming #1, who asks, what happened in Kino before the outbreak? Was it a theater? P.S. I love your vids. Kino Der Toten was a theater before the outbreak had began. It was a theater where you can go and see movies, or you could see live productions. We know this because, of course, we had the projector that probably played movies, and in addition to that, you'll notice there are props and costumes scattered about the theater, which gives us this idea that it was, one, a regular theater for movies, and two, a regular theater for actual plays and live productions. So that's what went on there before it became a Nazi research center. Now, probably during the Great Depression, the movie theater closed. Movie theaters are always the hardest hit whenever there's either a recession or a depression, and I'd imagine the theater just ended up going out of business, and it was left abandoned in the streets of Berlin. Now, eventually, Group 935 decided to use it as a research facility. They wanted to control the zombies, and after seeing the failures of the Verrückt facility, they needed a place much larger. So they used Kino Der Toten, and what they did was they would strap the zombies down into the chairs and they would play a series of images over the projectors. And it actually had some success, and they were able to teach some zombies simple commands. And then things eventually went wrong, and as we all know, there was an outbreak. And then eventually the Americans and the Russians found it. But that's basically the history of Kino Der Toten. It starts off as just a regular movie theater, ends up going out of business and abandoned, and then Group 935 moves in, zombies get out of control, and then the Americans and the Russians come in and they're like, oh my god, look at all this crazy tech, and then they take it back and reverse engineer it. That's all we can really draw from, though, the story of Kino beforehand. Moving on, though, we have a question from Intense Glitcher, who asks, is Dead Ops Arcade important to the Treyarch Zombie storyline? Also, great videos, mate. Thank you, Intense. So, Dead Ops Arcade doesn't necessarily have a story. For the longest time, when we were playing Black Ops 1, we thought Dead Ops Arcade might have a story. We thought it might relate to the story in some shape or fashion. However, as time went on, Dead Ops Arcade continued to grow more irrelevant. There never really was much of a story that really spawned from it. There were never any references back to it, and it just kind of left us wondering in the dust, like, okay, what is up with this game? Is there anything to it? And there is something. As we all know, there is the Cosmic Silverback that can be found within Dead Ops Arcade. Now, he was a monkey that was launched into space by the Russians, and he supposedly went to the moon. And remember, the moon has element 115. Here's what I suspect. The monkey got sent up by the Russians. The moon had element 115. This is probably how the Russians discovered element 115 on the moon. It was sending things up to the moon that really proved it to them. And then when the monkey came down, he was infected with element 115. He had remnants of it. Once that monkey died, possibly coming back into Earth, possibly on the moon. We don't exactly know how the monkey died. Either way, the monkey died and his body was reanimated by the element 115 it was exposed to. And when it came back to Earth, it was the Cosmic Silverback that we know in Dead Ops Arcade. And this actually broke out as a national story. If you do some no-clipping around the map 5, you'll actually see this headline right here that does a report on the Cosmic Silverback. So in some way, Dead Ops Arcade does tie back into the regular zombie storyline. However, Dead Ops Arcade, a world in which a player sort of just fights endless hordes of zombies, a Cosmic Silverback, and gets random drops like helicopters and tanks, and moves all about the world. isn't relevant to the story at all. The Cosmic Silverback may in some way relate back to the story, but other than that, I wouldn't take the gameplay at face value as important to the story at all. So we're gonna end today's episode with a question from Darren Ruff, who asks, what happened to Richtofen after buried? There's two possibilities of things that could happen to Richtofen after buried. The first is that Richtofen gains control of the ethereal energy. This is when you complete all the Easter eggs in his favor. He is just going to become a god. He's going to use the world, as he described it, personal plaything. He doesn't care. He'll do whatever the hell he wants. If he wants to suddenly kill you, he'll suddenly kill you. If he wants to take buried and move it into a jungle, well, he can do that. He has complete, all-powerful control of the world. This is what Richtofen has wanted from the beginning. That's what happens when you complete all of his Easter eggs. Now there's another possibility. Maxis could gain control of the ethereal energy. If you complete all of the Easter eggs in his favor, he will now become the all-powerful being that Richtofen had dreamed of becoming. And what he's going to do is exact his revenge on Richtofen. He was upset that Richtofen created this entire mess and separated him from his daughter. So he is going to put Richtofen's soul in the body of a zombie for eternity. So after you complete the buried Easter egg for Maxis, you'll notice one zombie that has blue eyes. This zombie is always Richtofen, and when you kill him, you're going to get a drop. Every time you kill this zombie, it gets placed in the soul of another zombie. Richtofen is stuck as a zombie for the rest of eternity. This was his punishment for creating this entire mess, and then Maxis is going to end up destroying the world, so it doesn't really matter. Richtofen is essentially a zombie for the rest of time. That's going to be it for this week's episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like, possibly subscribe. I upload new episodes of the Zombie Storyline Q&A every week, and if you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Be sure to leave your comments down below or to tweet me with them at JohnnyJ25. I forgot to mention, I am currently in Germany at the moment if you're watching this video not long after it came out. And if you'd like to see my antics or shenanigans that I got into as I traveled through the country, you can go check that out on my second channel down below. But I'm going to go. Have a great day, and bye.